Hello, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mara Walsh, and I am your host today. I'm excited to be here today hosting this virtual tour presentation. We don't have them as frequently as we did during COVID, but it's always nice to be online and to be connected to everyone again. And even better to be here with our guide, who you may know from some other virtual tour platforms. Before we get started on our virtual tour presentation today, I have a few housekeeping items to review. Please know that you are on a Zoom webinar. Your video and microphone are not on or activated, and you will not be seen or heard. However, we do want to interact with you through the chat and the Q&A features on the Zoom toolbar. You can chat me if you'd like to send me a message, and if you want the question directed towards the guide, who will answer them after the presentation, please put them in the Q&A tab as well. If you're having audio or video issues, please put that note in the chat and I will help you after the introduction. I am located in the United States and specifically between Philadelphia and New York. I mentioned this so that you know what time zone we are broadcasting from. This is Eastern time zone. So for us, it is 5 p.m. Eastern time. That might help you gauge in the future what time you need to set a reminder on your calendar for in terms of the tours. As you may know by now, when we're not traveling virtually, I host groups on physical tours as well as help others plan their own family and group vacations. My tours are mainly adult-only tours, but my summer tours are open to all ages from 12 through senior citizens. So they're multi-generational tours. If you're interested in joining us on any of them, please drop me a note or by all means, email me. You can always join our private Facebook group, which is Girl Travel Tours. There you will be able to follow along on our physical tours. I have two groups going out still this year. Both are going to Cuba, one in November and one in December. And then we have a full schedule of travel set for 2024. So feel free to join our group and travel along with us virtually. As you may be aware, I started traveling with my tour guides virtually when COVID struck and we were not able to travel physically. These virtual tour presentations have helped many tour guides earn some much needed income and have kept the excitement of travel alive for many of us as well. So they've served two purposes very well. We've done more than 80 virtual tours and we have all of the recordings available to you on girltraveltours.com, as well as my YouTube channel and my Facebook page. So feel free to go back and access any of them as you'd like. They're all free to access. We have two more virtual tours on the calendar for this year. We have on November 29th, I think we're doing Jews in Russia. And then on December 19th, we are doing Toledo and La Mancha. So if you haven't signed up for them, please do so that you can join us on those. And then obviously in 2024, we'll do our best to add some more to the calendar. If you'd like to get an email alert to make sure that you are alerted when we have a new virtual tour or anything else going on with Girl Travel Tours, you can sign up for those alerts on my website as well. So let's get right into it now. Today's tour and all of our tours are scheduled for about 60 minutes plus a Q&A. So I hope you are ready for the presentation. As you know, a tour would not be complete without a fantastic tour guide. And today we have Olga joining us. This is her first time with us on Girl Travel Tours, so let's give her a very warm reception. I will share with you via chat and during the Q&A how you can leave a tip for the guide if you appreciate the presentation and the guide's knowledge. All the tips go directly to the guide minus the Zoom operating expenses. So today, I want to welcome Olga to join us. Hello and welcome, Olga. Feel free to come on and take the controls and share your screen. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to show you Ukraine. Just a second, I will share my screen to make everything complete. And my name is Olga. I'm a virtual tour guide from Kyiv, Ukraine. Before the war, I was the regular tour guide, and now the planes are not flying to my country, and I really don't know when they will start flying again. So this is the privilege for me to tell you about Kyiv. Probably some of you have traveled to the capital of Ukraine before. Probably you have roots or relatives, or you have someone whom you know from my beautiful country, Ukraine. And I will be so glad to hear from you the reviews and the question at the end of this tour when we will finish. It's so interesting to know your impressions and your connections to Ukraine. Today, I prepared for you the video and some information about my country, and we will walk along the most beautiful streets, and I will show you the highlights of my city. My eyes always sparkle when I tell about Ukraine and Kyiv, because physically I'm in Prague. I'm a refugee and I stay here for about a year. I came here last Christmas. So I really miss my country. Today, Facebook reminded me that I was cooking on the open fire in the apartment because of the blackouts. It might be strange and weird for me, for you. And today, I would like to tell you not just about the beautiful places like the churches, the cathedrals, the cave monastery, things that you can see when you come physically to Ukraine, but also you will see the scars of war on the streets of Kyiv. So let's get started. And I am very excited and I'm very grateful that you are here with me, that you found the time to learn more about Ukraine and about Kyiv. Let's begin. Marvelous Kyiv that you see, it's the name of my YouTube channel. You can join it and I will be very grateful to see you among my followers. This is the map of Ukraine, and the current official population is 38 million people, but because about 6 million people left as refugees, and about 2 million people, like we don't know, we don't have access to the occupied territories. Are they dead or not? So we assume that currently about 30 million people live in Ukraine, and this is the number of the population that we will need to rebuild the country after the war. This was the map that showed the occupied territories. Currently, fifth part of Ukraine's territory is occupied. These are the beautiful flowers of the lilac garden. The biggest lilac forest in Europe is in Ukraine. Kyiv is the ancient city. It was founded more than 1,500 years ago by three brothers. Their names were Kyi, Shek, Hariv, and sister Libet. And it was founded in 482. The brothers came to the hills, Kyiv hills, and they kind of occupied one hill for the brother. Kyiv is a hilly city. When you come, you will see that. I would like to tell you how you need to spell the name of the Ukrainian capital. It's Kyiv, because the name of the eldest brother was Kyi. That is why we have Kyiv, Kyiv. 4 million people live in Kyiv. Half of the population left when the brutal Russian invasion began, And currently a lot of people came back, and also a lot of people from their temporary occupied territories, they also came to Kyiv, because now this is the city that has one of the mightiest and the strongest air defense systems in the world, thanks to our allies, US, UK, and all the countries who support Ukraine. I specify this and kind of want to tell you that I'm very thankful, because I represent, in a way, I represent Ukraine, so I'm very thankful to the countries who support Ukraine in such difficult time. Small page of history. Today we will see beautiful Golden Gate and Sophia Cathedral. So I wanted to show you who built these beautiful buildings. It's Prince Yaroslav the Wise, and he created a lot of things in Kyiv. He was called the father-in-law of Europe because his daughters, he had 10 children, but his daughters became European queens, and the most famous of them is Queen Anna. She was the queen of France and the wife of Henry I. This is the small church in the center of Kyiv, but it is famous because the founder of Moscow, Yuri Dolgorukiy, is buried in this place, in this church. Yes, Kyiv is older than Moscow, and in 1701, Russian Tsar Peter I decided to give a new name to Duchy of Moscovia, and he was thinking, and he decided that he will take the word Rus, like the name of my country many centuries ago was Kyivan Rus. So he just took the second word, Rus, and threw away Kyiv. And that is why Russia is called Russia. But the founder of Moscow is buried in Kyiv. That is one of the brutal invasions that happened in Kyiv in 1240. The grandson of Genghis Khan, his name was Batey Khan, he decided to conquer the city. And back then, Kyiv had huge population, 50,000 people. Can you imagine that? In the 13th century, 50,000 people. And after this assault and after the siege, Kyiv has had just 2,000 people left. And we can compare that Tatar invasion with what you could see on the streets of Kyiv just a year ago. This is Bucha, the main street, and it's a little bit kind of, you can compare. The same is happening. The genocide is happening, and it's still there. The war is not over, but Kyiv is liberated. This are the streets of the city, how they looked like a year ago. This picture was taken from the window of my house when I was leaving the city in May. I was coming there for my holidays for the month of May, and this is how the air defense is working. So basically we have big neighborhoods, 23, 24-story buildings, and everything is falling on the roofs. And they are attacking mostly at night. This is the blast just close to my home. And now we are beginning exploring the beautiful part of the city. Sometimes you will have these flashbacks. I will tell you a little bit about history and about the highlights of the landmarks of the city, but also you will see the signs of the war. Kreshchatyk is the main street, and it's the widest and the shortest of European streets. This mural was created by Banksy last November, when he decided to come to Kyiv and just draw attention of the world's community to the Ukrainian capital. You can see the main street, the place where the history is made, so the demonstrations and all the revolutions are happening there on the Independence Square and on Kreshchatyk Street. It was ruined during the World War II by the Russian army. For the first time, they used remote bombs, like control remote bombs. They placed them all over Krещатик Street, and when the Russian army was retreating, or Soviet army, let's say, was retreating, they blew everything up. This is the famous our kind of city hall, and in front of it there is a stamp. So when this is the wishful thinking, we want Putin to be in Hague, and our post issues the stamps to show people that we are fighting and it's possible to win. And that is the vestiges of their cars, of the old, like not old, but of the technique that was brought from them. From the war, from the fields, from the where the fights are happening. I was making this video in May, and Krещатик was in bloom. The symbol of Kyiv is a chestnut tree, and you will see this wonderful. This is called, the architectural style is called Stalin Empire style. Soviet style, and blooming chestnut trees. This monument is called Independence Column. It's 62 meters high. It's colossal, one of the biggest columns in Europe. And you can see the rusty metal plates. They are telling about like how the war started, and it started in 2014, not in like it started 9 years ago when Russia annexed Crimea. Just in front of the Independence Column, you can see a huge field of the small Ukrainian flags. Probably you might guess what is it, but these are the flags of the fallen soldiers. So when the person is dying, sometimes the mothers or the relatives are coming to the president for their reward. And many of them are coming, of course, to the main square, and then they buy this small flag and they write the name of the fallen soldier on it. I personally could see multiple number of times when people were coming and crying and writing the names of their sons or brothers or husbands, who knows. And you see how beautiful Kyiv is. It's just flourishing. You might think that like there is no war in this country, but it's just the reality. It's the reality that there is war and there is beauty. During the day we are living, we are walking, we are walking on the streets, going to the restaurants, and during the night we spend this like nice starting from the 3 a.m. till 6 a.m. in the bomb shelters. And now we are going to discover Sophia Cathedral, our main treasure. Just in front of it, there is another poignant memorial to the soldiers of Azovstal, the soldiers who were defending Mariupol. Probably you know that the population of Mariupol is 500,000 people, and from that population, probably about 100,000 people died. 100,000. And they were defending Mariupol at the beginning of the war. I just paused the video to show you how our monuments work. Because of the shelling, we have to protect the monuments with the scaffolding, with the shields made of the plates of metal or wooden. And here we see the beautiful Sophia Cathedral. This is my favorite part of the Kyiv ancient tour, because Sophia Cathedral is a beautiful complex that has, you can see the mighty bell tower. It was created in 1705. It has the height is 76 meters. It's like 10 giraffes if you put them on top of each other. And the bell tower is decorated by the exquisite and intricate moldings. So on the light blue background, you can see this moldings which have the name. It's called Ukrainian Baroque. In some patterns, you can even guess Cossacks. They were the Ukrainian warriors, and they are in the form of angels. And also there are floral patterns. we're entering St. Sophia Cathedral. That temple was built in 1027, the beginning of the 11th century. It is unique because it is so ancient. It is unique because it is so old. This is really our treasure. It was built by Yaroslav the Wise. I showed you his picture before. And he wanted Kyivan Rus to be a mighty Christian state. That is why he decided to build St. Sophia Cathedral, and it is not just the church, it was his kind of residence. This was the place where he was receiving ambassadors and the guests. Currently, you can see the tree with the bells. They have the meaning. They have the meaning. When you come, you will hear how the wind moves the bells and they began to ring. It's the monument to the memorial, not the monument, but the memorial to the perished kids, the kids who were killed by Russia. And there are 600 bells. They symbolize the souls of 600 kids who were killed in Ukraine. You will hear the sound now. So the idea of our First Lady who created this, kind of not created, but inaugurated this monument, just the sound of the bells are calling the angels from the skies. And these bells represent the souls of the kids. I hope that you can hear these bells. It's beautiful and poignant memorial to the war. But I will continue telling you about the significance of St. Sophia Cathedral. You can see that it's the white church, which has kind of the brown parts. And the reason why the plaster was removed, that is because it was built in Byzantine style. Back then, in 1027, it had brown color because it was built with plinth. Plinth, it's a prototype of the brick, and it was used in Byzantium and then later in Rome when people were building such a glorious temples. St. Sophia Cathedral means, Sophia means wisdom, and the name of this cathedral, Yaroslav the Wise took it as a reminder of Saint Sophia in Constantinople. That is the church that was built in the 6th century. Yaroslav the Wise invited Byzantine masters. He built the special factory to create the small pieces of smalt, kind of the small pieces of glass particles 1 to 1 centimeter, to create the glorious mosaics. This church is unique because it has the biggest collection of ancient mosaics of that time, of the 11th century. In St. Sophia Cathedral, you can find 300 square meters of mosaics and 3,000 square meters of frescoes. In a couple of moments, we will go inside and you will see with your own eyes how these mosaics look like. Yaroslav the Wise established the library in this church. It was like his way to assert the power in Kyivan Rus, to show everyone that it's the mighty Christian state. The ambassadors from France also came to ask for the permission to marry. When Yaroslav's daughter Anna was getting married to Henry I, the French ambassadors came here to St. Sophia Cathedral to ask for her hand. Here you can see the beautiful designs of the 4-tier bell tower. As I told you, it was added later by Cossacks. Cossacks were protecting Kyivan, like the territory of Ukraine in the 16th, 17th century. They gave 20% of their income for the building of the churches. Now you can see Cossacks as angels. So you can see on the wall of this bell tower, the Cossacks like flying in the form of angels. That is the beautiful example of Ukrainian Baroque. St. Sophia Cathedral was not just the church, it was, as I told you, the library, it was the place where Yaroslav the Wise was buried. There is his sarcophagus. Unfortunately, it was opened a couple of times, and in 1945, like it was his body and his relics were still in the sarcophagus, but when they opened them for the kind of examination in 1982, they discovered that there is no body, like no bones of Yaroslav the Wise are kept in sarcophagus. So they were stolen probably during World War II. Let's go inside and see St. Sophia Cathedral inside. So she is like the glorious lady. She likes to change the clothes. This is how it looks now in Ukrainian Baroque style. And this is the first how St. Sophia Cathedral looked when it was built in the Byzantine style. So it was brown. Back then, there were not enough stones in Kyiv to build such a glorious temple, and Yaroslav the Wise made a special tax. So everybody who was coming to city on the carts, they had to bring the huge stones, and then they could enter the church, the city. We are inside. You can see the iconostasis, and you can see Oranta, Mother Orant. That is the big, huge 6-meter mosaics just in front of you. It depicts Mother Virgin Mary, and she's holding her hands like this. You see, I will show you my beautiful vyshivanka. It's the embroidery, and this is the rare it's the rare case when the Mother of God, Virgin Mary, is depicted without baby Jesus. It's called indestructible wall. Why it is indestructible? Because the legend has it that until Aranta is staying, up to this time, Kyiv exists. Many times, just when the war started, Russians were threatening to ruin the center of Kyiv, and the missile landed 1 kilometer away from St. Sophia Cathedral, just on the crossroad close to the to Shevchenko University. And that day, like we thought that it was so close to St. Sophia, but luckily it's still standing. When Tatar Mongolians came to Kyiv, they didn't ruin the church. Probably they spared it because they really were afraid. When they were standing, she was looking at them. There is the kind of effect when you're standing on different places inside the church. You will feel like the eyes of Virgin Mary is looking at you, and this is the reason why probably they didn't ruin it. You can see a lot of frescoes and graffiti. It's inside St. Sophia Cathedral is like the book. So you can, if the person can read the inscriptions on the church, this person can really read the history of Kyivan Rus. There are different signs, like someone is writing, Ivan stole the piece of meat, my piece of meat, I want to kill him. Or there are inscriptions when the princes, Kyiv princes, were born, were married, died. So there are significant inscriptions and not significant. This is the sarcophagus of Yaroslav the Wise. It is still here, but the bones are missing, unfortunately. So we're walking along the corridors, and we are now at the Golden Gate. Golden Gate, this was the mighty entrance to old Kyiv, Kyivan Rus. It's the part of the fortification system. And when we go inside, now I'm inside, you can see the vestiges of the old walls. These walls also were built in the 11th century, together with the Sophia Cathedral. So this is the plinth, the way how people were building back then in Byzantium and in Kyivan Rus in the 11th century. You can see the prototype of the bricks, the flat baked bricks, and you can see the huge stones. I told you about the taxes. Yes, so these were the tax of Yaroslav the Wise, and they are intertwined. And these walls are protected by the pavilion, like you can see the red parts of the pavilion, just to protect the old walls, old vestiges of the walls from the rain and wind, from their ruinations. So this was the mighty entrance to the ancient Kyiv, and even now you can see how it looked like back then. Why they were called golden? There are a lot of versions, and still the historians argue probably they were called golden because people had to pay golden coins when they were entering the city. Probably there was the special copper fitting on the gates, and they were called golden. But the most historians agree that there was the small church of Annunciation. Now I'm there in this. We will go inside this church of Annunciation, and the cupolas of church of Annunciation were covered by pure gold. They were shiny, and that was so majestic and beautiful that it was called Golden Gate. But again, this is the cupola. But again, there is also the version of the analogy. So Golden Gate in Kyiv was called golden because of the analogy of Golden Gate of Constantinople. And Yaroslav the Wise, who was father-in-law of Europe, he just copied the names. He decided to have Sophia Cathedral and Golden Gate, as well as Constantinople had it. These are the reconstructed mosaics of the old mosaics that existed here in the 12th century. And the red walls that you can see now, these are also reconstructed walls. You can see now the beautiful Kyiv and the blooming chestnut trees from one of the viewpoints. It's one of the best views that I can offer for you today. I hope that you are excited. Let me know in the chat after this tour, what do you think about Kyiv and the beautiful views that I'm showing to you. The idea of Yaroslav the Wise was to put Golden Gate and just in front of it St. Sophia. So everybody who would come through the gates would see the glorious temple. And then when Soviets came to our lands, to Ukraine, they decided to block the view to St. Sophia Cathedral, and that is why now there is the big gray building just blocking the view and blocking the idea of Yaroslav the Wise. We are continuing our walk. In front of you, you can see the beautiful opera house, and this art decor, some kind of futuristic designs are called unexpected circumstances. They appeared just a few I could say a few months before the war. I remember I was doing tours and they were still there. And opera is working, and close to opera you can see now the buildings. It's just the center of the city. It's just a few steps from the Golden Gate, from St. Sophia, and the buildings are missing their windows, and you see the shrapnel. I will stop for a second. It's called Teacher's House. You can see the vestiges of the shrapnel. These are the shrapnel that cuts flesh like as butter. This is the signs of the war, the scars of the war. This is what happens to the buildings when Russians are sending missiles to one of the European capitals. So you see that this building is missing the windows. There are like brown wooden plates or boards instead of the windows. This is where the tragedies happened, because in October and in November last year, they were shelling the city center. It's close to, you see, red walls of Taras Shevchenko University, and the marks, you see the marks on the red walls, these are the marks of the shrapnel. And there was the huge kind of pit, the huge crater where the missile landed. So this is how the Kyiv looks like. Sometimes you can see just beautiful onion-shaped domes covered with gold, and I can tell you that they belong to the 12th century, and so much history is hidden behind these walls, and sometimes I can show you just the destructions. These are the pensioners. They were actually dancing to ABBA music, and this is the way how they entertain themselves. They are just walking around and dancing just during the war. Business center, sports center. This is the first building that you will see when you will arrive to the railway station. 19th century buildings. So these are kind of the harsh reality. I wanted to show it to you. You know, for example, in this very apartment, people found a couple, a pregnant lady, and her husband was hugging her. She was pregnant, and she was hugging the cat. And this is how they died all together. There are so many painful stories that the movies, the plays will be probably made in future after these stories, like, for example, the young couple who died in this 19th century building. It used to be a historical one. And now I wanted to show you the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra. This is the monastery complex. It's the most lavishly decorated complex, and you can see in the streets, you can meet the ladies in the authentic Ukrainian garments and attire. This lady told me that this specific kind of costume belonged to her grandmother. It's a monastery. It's called Kyiv-Pechersk Lavra. Pechersk means cave, like Kyiv cave monastery. It has two parts. One is it's kind of city in the city, because it has 130 churches, and it has this big Dormition Cathedral, which also was built in the 12th century. You can see the magnificent bell tower. It's called the Leaning Tower of Kyiv, because it is a little bit leaning. It was built in the 18th century. And it's famous and unique because it has mummies. So on the upper part of Lavra, of Kyiv Monastery, it's kind of museum complex. You can explore the churches, you can go to the museums. In front of you is the Dormition Cathedral, which is a wonderful example of Ukrainian Baroque architecture. And on the other part, lower part of Kyiv Monastery is the monastery underground, the underground labyrinth. These are underground labyrinths where monks are mummified, and they're lying there, and they are kept there for centuries, like starting the 12th century. And I will show you inside these caves. This is the old stone. This stone belongs to the 12th century. This is the part of the temple that was also ruined, as well as Krishchatik Street, by the retreating Soviet army. So they blew up everything. They blew up Dormition Cathedral, and this one that you see in front of you was rebuilt in 2000. Inside you will see the most precious iconostasis in Ukraine. It's made from the wood, and it's decorated. Now you can see it in front of you, and it's covered with the gold. It's special liquid gold that they use for the covering of this iconostasis. My father is a carpenter, and when I'm standing there, I'm just at awe because it's so grandiose. Like this video doesn't do it justice, because this intricate woodwork is just impossible. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. It was performed in 2000, because like the church was inaugurated in 2000, but it's glorifying Ukrainian craftsmanship, I could say this way. This church is called refectory. And when the first one was ruined, when the Domitian Cathedral was ruined, the refectory for 56 years was the main church of Kyiv and of our country. It was built in the 18th century as the place where the monks could have lunch, or could have meals. It's beautiful inside because it has two parts. One part is dark, very dark. You can see these dark frescoes with you can see the angels on them, on the cupola. It's really decorated in golden and dark colors. So this is the active church, and the other part is very light, and you can see this difference. Back then, when the monastery was flourishing, there were 11 wooden tables, and the monks were eating there, having their meals. Now I will move the camera, and you will see this long, glorious, light part. The monks they came from Greece. Their names were Antony and Theodosi, and they start to dig the caves. But the earth in Ukraine is not like the stones in Greece, and that is why the earth began to slide. That is why they began to dig deeper, deeper, and deeper, and that is how caves were formed. Then they felt that it's not enough, they cannot live under the ground. They needed more space, and they just went to the surface and started to build the buildings on the surface. And they started to use these labyrinths as the burial place and the place where they were just worshiping and living there and praying garden. It's in the lower caves. So let's go and explore. Oh, here we are. Now we are going down the stairs. I will walk with you through these corridors. It's a unique experience. I will keep silent for a second, and you will hear the music. You can just walk there with the candle. The telephones and the torches are not allowed, and you will see mummified monks. They are centuries old. You don't see the bodies. You can see sometimes a hand stuck or a foot. It's not covered by the tapestry, and you are walking in this very, very low, narrow corridors, 1 meter width and 2 meters high, and you can see these bodies of monks lying. So you can see that the hand, for example, now that you can see the hand is just showing up from the clothing, and they are real. These bodies of the monks, they served as the confirmation for the believers that they are real, because they were mummified without any substances, without any bombing, without anything, just because they were kind of sitting there, praying there. And when the people noticed that the bread and water is untouched, they could understand that the monk is dead, and then they closed the the cell and opened it in 3 months. And if they see that the body is not rotten, it's okay. The monk is kind of sacred and they are still lying. Altogether, there are 123 monks, 123 saints. And we are moving to Ukrainian playgrounds. It's called Landscape Alley. And this mosaic playground is situated on the old ramparts, the place that was protecting the old Kyiv city, because by the analogy of other European cities, Kyiv was founded on the hill, and the Kyiv prince and the nobility and the army lived on the hill, and the merchants and the rest of the people lived closer to the water, to the Dnieper River. Thank you for staying on the tour. Thank you for being with me. I would like to show you my beautiful garment, and these are Ukrainian buskers. You see, these are the sunflowers. Let's hear what sound he is producing. Let's hear. Music, and this stone tells us this is the place where Kyivan Rus started. This is the stone that marks the place where Kyivan Rus was founded. That was Kyiv, old Kyiv hill, where Kyiv, the eldest brother, founded his dwelling, and it was called Kyiv. It's one of my favorite churches. It's called St. Andrew's Church. It's just close to this place, to the old Kyiv hill. Beautiful Baroque church built by the order of daughter of Russian Tsar Peter I. Her name was Elizabeth I. So why? She had a lover, and her lover was a Ukrainian Cossack. Ukrainian, he was a Ukrainian singer in her church choir. She fell in love with him and decided to visit the motherland of her favorite. So she came to Kyiv and ordered to build a beautiful church and a palace. That is why we have St. Andrew's Church and Mariinsky Palace. From the observation platform of Andrew's Church, you can see the amazing views of Kyiv, and you see this beautiful Baroque details. Elizabeth I never came to Kyiv. She never saw the result of this building. This church doesn't have bells because it was built specifically for one person, for Russian empress, and she never visited it. But inside it has the beautiful linden tree iconostasis that's still there, and it is authentic, and a lot of carved elements of the Elizabeth Baroque or Ukrainian Baroque inside. The church is soaring in the air. First of all, it was built on the place where St. Andrew, the apostle, was traveling. And when he was traveling, he went to this hill, he erected the cross there, and he predicted that a beautiful city with a lot of churches will be founded on this place. I took you inside to show you the amazing architecture, amazing elements of Ukrainian churches. I hope that one day you will visit Kyiv and you will see it with your own eyes. You can find me on YouTube. My business name is Marvelous Kyiv, and you can join my tours in Kyiv in person when this war is over, and when we will be able to show the Invincible Kyiv to the world. Here we are looking at the Podil area, the lower city. So we have upper city, we have explored upper city, and now I am taking you to the lower city. It's called Andrew's Descent. Andrew's Descent. This is the beautiful street. It had 3 houses, number 18. It situated between 3 hills, and it has bold mountain, the place where Ukrainian witchers gather for their gathering. Like in the Western world, you have Halloween, and we have the kind of mirrored Halloween, the 31st of May. And here the Ukrainian witchers, Kyiv witchers are flying in front of you from the bold mountain. This is the official place where Kyiv witchers are gathering. This is the the ghost city of millionaires, and the Andrew's church just soaring in the air. Ghost City of Millionaires is the neighborhood in Kyiv, which was built by the richest people. They invested a lot of money into this neighborhood, but they ordered to build the houses higher. So originally it is the very steep slope, and there should be just the houses which are, let's say, 1-, 2-story buildings, but they wanted more money, and they ordered to build 5- and 4-story houses. That is why the problem started. There were cracks in the walls, there were water in the basements, and the richest people of Ukraine decided not to live in this ghost city of millionaires. And currently in the center of Kyiv, the beautiful neighborhood, which looks like Amsterdam or some kind of Belgium, is standing there just for the beautiful I don't know, photo sessions, because a lot of couples who have weddings are coming to have their pictures in the ghost city of millionaires. Now you can see yourself, you can look at these buildings, they are beautiful. On the facades of the buildings are decorated with the patterns of Ukrainian vyshyvankas, of these embroidered patterns. Look at this amazing architecture. This is Kyiv, and we try not to share it now on social media because, like, you know, Russians might see it, and who knows what might happen. It's very beautiful. But when you come there at night, it is dark and nobody is living there. Just the first floors are occupied by the art galleries and by the restaurants and the cafes. It's a very beautiful neighborhood and hidden, and you won't believe that this is Kyiv. It's amazing. That is another sharp kind of reality. Sorry for this very quickly changing of this kind of picture. So from the ghost city of millionaires, I wanted to show you Bucha. This is the city that paid the price for Kyiv. Kyiv is standing. The battle for Kyiv was won, but the satellites of Kyiv, Bucha, Irpin, and Borodyanka, paid this price. And when you are coming to Kyiv by car, you will see these cemeteries of cars with the belongings of the people just on the floor. It's not staged. You can really come there and see that this one belonged to the people who were killed in those cars. So the people wanted, you can even see the Bible on them, on one of the car seats. You can see the piece of bread. It was I filmed that a couple of months, like in summer, just when Kyiv was liberated. It was liberated in April, and I came back to Kyiv in summer. And you understand when you really feel the smell of the cars that the people were killed there. They were trying to escape from these satellite cities, and they were shelled, the cars were burned, and a lot of people died just in trying to escape from the danger. This is how it's called Kyiv, Switzerland. Looks like it's one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Irpin, and this is where the battles happened. People were hiding in the basements, and Banksy, when he came to Kyiv, he picked up this neighborhood to depict his murals. So he drew two pictures in Kyiv, and the rest of the how to say, probably murals, I could say that he depicted in the satellite cities. The Irpin is the city which is situated in the pine tree forest. So you can see even these pine trees on the screen. Back then, this was the place where the young families lived, IT specialists. There were no pensioners because people who had enough money to buy such luxurious real estate close to Kyiv, they bought it before the war. And this is how it looks now. You can see this shrapnel and shells and the damaged buildings. There, the fences are also all like the sieve. You know, it's probably for the Western world, it's a little bit kind of, I couldn't say interesting, but weird and strange how people can live in Ukraine now. What is happening? So, you know, a lot of things are happening. We live in the very unusual reality. We have war, we have these sirens, but we also continue to work because bank system is working, railway system, like the trains are working, people, schools are working. We try to survive, but it is very hard. It's very hard to accept the war and to continue to live with this. We even have the kind of lower the rule for the kids. If there are the sirens at night, they can miss a couple of a few first lessons in the morning. And back to Kyiv, I wanted to show you the you know, what is it? It's the sign of friendship, Russian and Ukrainian friendship. It's a huge titanium rainbow. It was built in 1982, and this is the sign of friendship that doesn't exist. A huge titanium symbol of Soviet like friendship when Russia and Ukraine were the republics in Soviet Union. This bridge, it's called Klitschko Bridge, as after the name of our mayor, Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko. He is a famous boxer, a champion. He has all the belts possible, and he decided to create the glass bridge to connect the parts of the Kyiv, like the new part with Krishchatik Street and Independence Square, and the old part. And it's a beautiful pedestrian glass bridge. It has these glass particles, panels in on the bridge, but not the whole bridge is made of glass. And Putin targeted it. It destroyed, it was partly destroyed. This is me, by the way. It was partly destroyed during October and November. It was under the reconstruction, but Putin didn't manage to ruin it completely. And it was open. This is me jumping on this glass panel, showing to you our French, this arch of friendship panels, and my beautiful vyshyvankas. These are the embroidery shirts that we wear. These are beautiful monuments. This is how they are covered by these sacks of sand to protect the monuments from the shelling. This is the view from my window in Kyiv. The view from my window where I live. It's Sikorsky. He was born in Kyiv and he invented helicopter. This is Chernobyl, the place where people used to come to see the disaster that happened in 1986 when the nuclear disaster exploded. It's Chicken Kyiv. That is the crusty, like the dish, the symbol of Kyiv. You have the chicken breast, and inside you have this melted butter with garlic and spices. Borscht, the beetroot soup, a wonderful beetroot soup, and it's the kind of the superfood. We add there cabbage, onion, carrots, and beet and potatoes. Just here and now you are going to see our gopak, our national dancing. So it's originated as the martial art, and these are Cossacks, and then it became like it became a dance. It evolved into dance. So let's enjoy. I will keep silent and we will enjoy this dancing, and you will feel like dance with me. I will dance, you will dance. I hope that you are cooking borscht and exploring and dancing. This is me in the lilac garden. I wanted to tell you guys that I'm originally from Zaporizhia city. Zaporizhia, this is the place where Cossacks were living. These are mighty steppe warriors. The Khortytsa Island, the biggest island in Europe, and we have this kind of Cossack blood in our veins. And this is the lilac garden, the famous garden that built as a stepped kind of amphitheater, and it has the hugest collection of the bushers, more than 100,000 bushers. And this garden, lilac forest, will bring you from the top to the Dnieper River, and you can see the beautiful Vydubitsky monastery. It also belongs to the 12th century, and you go and go and go, like walk down along this beautiful lilac forest. You smell this wonderful aroma of the lilacs, and you are mesmerized by the views. This is Kyiv. Please come to us in May and join marvelous Kyiv. Thank you so much for watching this tour, for exploring Kyiv with me. I don't know who had more pleasure, you or me, because I was really enjoying telling you this and sharing with you, because I really value you as the audience, and this tour was very important for me because it's a wonderful chance to remind the people about Ukraine, about war, about the nation that is fighting for its existence. And I think that beautiful Kyiv and this lilac garden deserves to be seen by you in future. So these are my last moments. This is my place of power. I always, even during the war, I made this year. It's not like the last, I always come there in May, and I'm inviting all of you to join me. I already see how you are cooking borscht and dancing to the energetic music, and wishing you joy and peace. Glory to Ukraine. I always say this at the end of my tours. Glory to Ukraine. A lot of effort has been made to bring this experience to you, and I'm very grateful for all your tips, donations, support, thoughts, prayers, and everything that you are giving to me and to Ukraine. Thank you so much. I'm ready for your questions and emotions. I don't know.
Oh, thank you so much, Olga. Thank you so much for bringing this to us. One, thank you. I mean, beautiful, obviously not a place we can visit at the moment, but we hope to be there in a very peaceful future. So I can almost smell the lilacs as you danced around in the lilacs, and they just are amazing, as well as the whole city is. So if we can, we'll take our time to go into the Q&A. I've put up a slide for everyone so that you can see how you can provide tips to the guide while we go through the questions. And also you'll all receive another email tomorrow, and it will outline again with links how you could provide tips. So there's another opportunity to do that as well. The recording of this, it will be up on the website. Usually it takes about 2 to 3 hours to process it, edit it, and get it up on the website. But you'll have that to revisit or send it to some friends if you feel as though someone missed it and you'd like to share it with them. So I'm going to jump into the Q&A, Olga, if you are ready. Going to also put my phone on ring or the ringer off so that you don't hear it every time there's a donation being made. So one, everybody has said, thank you so much. It's obvious that you love your city and that it's a wonderful place, and we appreciate your presentation. So that's one. One of the things I think is important to understand during the presentation, you said most of it was recorded in May. That's obviously after the current war has begun. So the question is, how much destruction has been done since then? And I'll follow up on that. How much destruction was done to Kyiv during World War II? So can you talk about the wars in general and what the destruction was and how much rebuild or what has transpired?
Yes, I can tell you that currently we can't compare like World War II and the current situation, because Russians were targeting Kyiv during this period of time. Like they were throwing missiles, like demolishing infrastructure and a lot of like residential buildings. They don't care about people, but it's not comparable to the World War II, when the retreating Soviet army used these techniques of scorched earth and they blew up Krещатик Street. And we don't have this appearance as like Prague or Budapest, like European cities have. It was just completely demolished, and it was rebuilt from the scratch. And currently in this war, the cities that are around Kyiv, 30 kilometers away from Kyiv, they paid this price. I can tell you in the percentage about Irpin, for example, 80% of the city was damaged. In Bucha, like less damages, but like a lot of people were killed. More than 400 people were just murdered. The civilians were murdered. So the satellites paid that awful price. Borodyanka suffered. Borodyanka, 80% of the city is ruined. So when you are coming to city from that side, and when you are driving through Borodyanka, Irpin, you can see these streets demolished. You understand that these 30 kilometers away from Kyiv, these people paid the price. When Russians ruined them, the people were just screaming under the rubbles, and the neighbors couldn't take them from there because they didn't allow them. They just were shooting. It wasn't allowed to walk along the streets because the snipers were sitting on the houses. But one tank came to the streets of Kyiv. I mean, Russian tank. Somehow, I don't know how it happened. But the way there were no Russians there in the city. That is why it's not demolished as the satellites, because there were Russians in Irpin, in Bucha, and in Borodyanka. They were occupied. Those territories which are occupied, they suffer the most, and they can kind of target Kyiv now with their long-range missiles. That is the major problem. So Kyiv is mostly rebuilt, but there are these scars that I showed to you, obvious scars. When you just go, it's just the ordinary city, and then you go to the next neighborhood, and then you can see that this is the reality of the war. But this is the capital, and of course it rebuilds quicker than the rest of the cities that are free now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean the images of the statues and the things that were being protected, as you said to me the other day when we were talking, they've taken some of those off and they're unprotected, but obviously all of the areas around the city, the capital, paid the price to protect the capital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of people have relatives, friends, and all kinds of people who have come from the Ukraine, and they speak of them with, you could see in the chat, they're speaking of them with, with compassion and with fond memories. One person talks about the music, which, we just played a little bit of the music at the end, but she said music is such a strong part of that culture, correct? And could you speak to that a little bit?
Oh, we first of all, we have the most melodious not the most, okay, there was the contest of the languages, and Ukrainian language is the second melodious language after Italian, like in this contest of the languages. That means that we have the equal number of consonant and vowels. That's unique because it makes Ukrainian language very wonderful, like a wonderful language for singing the songs. This is the uniqueness of the language. That is why we have a lot of songs, and they are very melodious. Also, you played the Carol of the Bells. This is the famous melody of Christmas, and it was created by Leontovich, Ukrainian composer, and then American director of the orchestra Vilkovsky changed the words, and we have Carol of the Bells, but the music originated in Ukraine, and we also are proud of this gift, kind of Ukrainian gift to the whole world. We have the music that comes from our heart, and whenever you hear the Ukrainian songs and Ukrainian music, I think this struck your soul. So I always, it's kind of a therapy. You just asking me the question about the music. This is the way how I survive. I just turn on Ukrainian songs, especially now we have, this strong military songs, not modern ones, but before, like we also have this war with Russia is a long story. They always wanted, I don't know why, they have a lot of land, but they wanted more. And this golden kind of the last songs, Cossack songs, for example, Cossacks March, it's incredible.
The last video we saw with the dance, can you remind us of what the name of that dance is?
The name of the dance is Hopak. I will try. So it was a martial dance of Cossacks, Hopak. And like they were like making the workout. They were fighting and
they were working out. That the one where they tried they were touching the backs was too much for me.
And to make it fun, they decided to make a dance, but I was pointing out the stretch, and I really don't know how. I tried myself to jump like this. I was jumping like this, and
that's not safe.
Incredible. Like when he's jumping and putting his legs over there, like I don't know how to describe that, but it's something very beautiful, unique, and I think that everyone who lives in Ukraine, I don't know, we cannot just not to fight, because it's really in our DNA. Borscht is in our DNA, this I don't know, red beet soup, and this hopak, and this Cossack warrior character, and
it's
they are in our
trait.
DNA, and we cannot just sit and say, okay, come, we will just take the land. No, we will fight until we have our strength to do so.
Yes. Let's change the subject to the cultures of Kyiv and Ukraine. Talk to us about the synagogues. We didn't really see any synagogues or much in the tour, the virtual tour. Tell us about how that works. Is there a Jewish quarters, and where are the synagogues?
So
are they
people
still
who come-
standing? Were they bombed? Like those types of things are the
There are
question.
two synagogues. One Brodsky synagogue, a very famous kind of merchant, and he also built the synagogue in Odessa, and the other, like another synagogue. Two synagogues we have. They are active. There is the Jewish community. There are about, I think, 2,000. Or I don't want to lie, but probably I was just on the top of my head, the numbers that I remember. But the Jews who are coming to Kyiv, they come for one place. Probably you know this name, Babin Yar. Babin Yar, this is the place of the biggest massacre of World War II. And this is not just the biggest place, it's also the most quickly filled grave of the Holocaust, because in 2 days, in 48 hours, 33,772 Jews were killed during these 2 days. Almost 34,000 people were killed in 2 days. It was insane. It's called Babin Yar. It was a huge ravine, like a very deep ravine, and it was the beginning of the Holocaust by bullets. When they didn't invent the gas chambers yet, they would put people on the top of the ravine, and they would shoot them directly, and they would fall into this ravine, and that it filled up to the top, and just 11 people survived in that massacre. So, and then Nazis decided that it's too hard for them to do so, and this is why they invented the gas chambers, because they couldn't follow this kind of tedious work. I don't know how to tell this, and that is why the Jews, when they are coming, they're going to Babin Yar. And before the war, there was the intention to build one of the biggest memorial complexes to Holocaust and to this tragedy that happened. And there are 3 sites appeared there. The synagogue that shifts like a book, it's folded synagogue. It opens like a book. It closes. It's you can visit it at any time, and there are intricate designs on the walls. It's built from wood that soared the road before the Holocaust. So we collected all the wood, and built this synagogue from that wood. It's kind of a memorial, and it opened, it closes. We have the Miro Field. It's also a memorial which has a lot of kind of the columns that are standing, and they are pierced as with the same bullets as the people were killed, and the Crystal Wall of Crying. So it's called the Memorial Center devoted to Babin Yar. This is what Jews visit when they come to Ukraine, and that was the reason why the Jewish community was so reduced. People escaped, people were killed, the entire Jewish population of Kyiv was killed, and not many of them came back after World War II. That is why we can't talk about the big Jewish community in Kyiv, but this place is really, really significant. Last year, before the war, for me, this because of last year, I think the president of Israel and the president of Germany and our president also came for this how to say the date which marks the 80 years of Babin Yar tragedy.
Yeah, it's horrible. Absolutely. The churches use white and green a lot. We saw many white and green, like the picture on the top of the slide we have up. Is there significance to the color, or is it just, is it insignificant and just lovely?
I heard in some sources that green is the color of Holy Spirit. So probably there is also this kind of, you're right, there are cupolas. Most of the cupolas are golden, and some cupolas are green because of the Holy Spirit. But most of the cupolas are in golden color, and we have St. Michael's Cathedral. This is the first church which cupolas were covered with the pure gold in the Eastern Europe back then. It was built in the 12th century.
No, nice.
So this is kind of originated
Someone
from
just
Greece.
complimented your comments on Babin Yar by saying that they had attended one of your tours on Babin Yar, and perhaps we should look at that to add to our schedule coming up, so we can talk about that offline. A couple questions that were just random. How is the embroidery spelled that we talked about at the end, pretty much at the end of the tour? You spoke about an embroidery.
Embroidery, this one.
I don't know what the reference is to, actually. Well, we could talk about the sunflowers while you're there, because that's something that somebody else asked about. We showed the lilacs and the chestnuts, but they said, they thought that the Ukraine was really known for sunflowers as well. So obviously that's the case, right?
Yes, but there is no specific name for the embroidery. It's just the embroidery is called kind of cross-stitch technique. This is how it's done. And all the districts and regions of Ukraine have different patterns. It's originated when mothers were protecting the chest and the collar of the shirt when the husband or the son or the brother was going to war. Like they were stitching and thinking and kind of giving their mental energy for the fact that for their, I don't know, in the hope that he will survive.
Right.
We have here.
There you go. We have an expert now. We need the expert.
We have another expert.
Yes.
We have another guide.
So a question maybe your junior guide can answer. Where were the original brothers and sisters from in the history of... Go ahead.
You mean original sisters and brothers? From Scandinavia.
Okay.
Like from...
Okay. I had a question for your junior guide. The question is, where did your mother learn English so well?
In the university.
In the university. And your English is just as well. I can hear from your answer. So that's great. Thank you. The last question we'll go back to is, and this was fascinating, I have to say, when we talked before the tour as well. The question is about the Russians and the Ukrainians, and the question is, do they speak the same language? And as we discussed, obviously most of the Ukraine speaks Russian as well. And is there an understanding? I had this discussion the other night with a friend, and we talked about the fact that war is different when you can understand the people that are attacking you, right? I mean, and they can understand the people they're attacking. It's a different type of interface. So that was one comment, was do the Russians and the Ukraine speak the same language? And you can talk about that. The other comment is, and what about the religion? Do you see eye to eye on religion as well? So talk to me about the nuances about the Russians and the Ukrainians with language and religion.
Oh, language, this is the kind of hot potato now in Ukraine, because yes, a lot of Ukrainians speak Russian, especially those territories in south and east, actually the territories which are attacked by Russia and occupied by Russia. I don't know why Russia thinks that if people speak Russian, they are Russian. It's not, because for example, in English, I don't know, New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, many countries speak English, but they are not
From
kind of
England.
British, and
Yeah.
nobody is invading them. Yes, people speak Russian because these territories were occupied, and this is the policy of Soviet Union. And I'm sorry, that takes 40 days of our mind to shift into the new language. It's not just people like this begin to speak Ukrainian, but we are Ukrainian who speak Russian. We are not Russian. We are
Right.
not Russian.
Exactly.
So this is the language issue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, we speak Russian, but we are not Russian. We are
Yeah.
Ukrainian.
And before the war, what was the percentage or how much of the population of the capital city had Russian inhabitants? And is there still that same balance of Russians living in Kyiv now?
I don't know. We have just the Ukrainian citizens.
Yeah.
We have Ukrainian passports. If you mean like how many Ukrainian citizens speak Russian in
No, not speak. No, I think the question is specific to Russian citizens. Were there Russian citizens living in Kyiv before the war? And were they driven out, or what was the relationship there? And or was it they were just not there?
I don't know anyone with the Russian passport, actually.
Okay.
So I don't think that there are a lot of people with Russian passports living in Kyiv. I don't know what happened to them. Probably I don't know really. I can't answer that question because I just know, yes, there are Ukrainians who speak Russian and who live in Kyiv, but like with our certificates and with our papers. I'm not sure that I don't think that many Russians are living in Ukraine right now.
Right. Yeah. I keep getting a last question every time I read a last question, but another one is a friend says that this battle between the land, the power struggle of the land is very long standing. Well, I think we all realize, right? We had the USSR, we had Russia, then it broke down. So I guess they're asking, like, what's your point of view on this? I'll let you speak to that.
Oh, my point of view changes every week, you know. If we have the tour next week, I will have completely different point of view. So, and it's true, it's not the anecdote, you know, it's not the anecdote. This is the reality, because when I was leaving Kyiv, I was leaving Kyiv just for 3 days. I went with a different pair of shoes because really they were bombing and I was afraid, and I went to my deceased granny who died just a couple of months before the war. Then I decided that it's like I will live in Europe for 1 month, and now I'm here for a longer period of time. So about Ukrainians, we don't have the plans. We are different from the rest of the world because we can think just about next week. This is maximum that I can plan. And we don't plan, but we all, as all people, we try to predict what is going to happen. At first we believed in the quick war, and Putin believed in it, but then he changed. When he didn't have this blitzkrieg, he decided to shift into this existential war. And we also, it's daunted on us, you know, we don't accept this simultaneously. At first we believe that it will finish very quickly, like in a month or in a 2 or in 3 months. Then like New Year, and the war is not ending, and then we understand that there will be the counteroffensive, and now we understand that they will keep fighting because their regime will collapse if Putin knows that this is the end, like the end of the war in Ukraine. This is his end, and this is why we now understand that they will fight. They will go and they will try to continue this war. And probably now Ukrainian society is more ready and mentally accepted the fact that it will last for a longer period of time. I can tell you, like, about myself, that sometimes I sit and think, oh my gosh, I will never see the end of this war. I will never see our victory, and this might happen. Probably I will never see the end of this war. Who knows? Probably
Well,
of course, it will not be as active as these 2 years.
yes.
Probably it will be a little bit quieter, and
Yeah.
we will still have to hold the territories for 10 years, for 20 years, or we can have the quick victory if we have enough weapons just in one big assault. Like if we have everything, like concentrate, if we can concentrate all the powers and we can just hit, then probably we can
Or we can pray for some peace, and hopefully something will come over this world, and they'll understand that, you know, a more peaceful existence is a more humane existence. So let's try to think on those terms, even though it sometimes, you know, it's hard, but we understand that it is such a horribly terrible time for you and that part of the world, and we're very fortunate, many of us, to be so far removed, but that doesn't mean that we don't have it in our heart and we're not praying for peace. So thank you, Olga, for coming out today and talking with us. And I hope that we can plan another tour that would be good for everyone as well. So we'll talk about that later. But thanks so much again. And I thank you, everybody, for coming out, and have a wonderful day. And we will see you again in a few more weeks for another virtual tour here. Take care. Bye-bye, Olga.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Goodbye.